Hey guys, Thomas from Team Sakurazo here. Come at you guys with the video that you've all been asking for, and I mean this. I think every market watch, live streams, everything, people have been asking me to make a Bonanza prediction list, which is kind of funny because I actually already have one out that didn't really do too well, but YouTube algorithm was being very weird then. So I want to make another one. I mean, these are fun to make, and I actually have a lot more picks that I think I should have been thinking about back then, as well as it's always nice where you could go to a video and make it again, but better. I actually do like that a lot. So this video is probably going to be an improved version of that list as well. And we're just going to get right into this here. But before I do, if you guys can hit that like button, that'd be great. I know I ask about that a lot, but I know a lot of you guys really were asking about this. So if you do really appreciate the videos that aren't market watch content creation, even though to be fair, prediction list for Bonanza kind of is. It just doesn't say market watch in the title. Make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe if you've not already. Let me know what cards you think are going to be in Bonanza because I know I'm going to miss a lot probably. And this is a pretty big list here, right? I just have to narrow it down on what they think they're going to focus. I love to hear in the comment section below. I always appreciate it. Check out my sponsors. Buy anything on TCG Players. My link down in the description below. Helps out the channel to no additional cost to you. Whatnot. Use my link to register for an account. You get $50 on your next purchase. They have more than just Yu-Gi-Oh and all that. And thank you to my YouTube channel members. Consider being a YouTube channel member. You guys are going to get another channel member video this month as well. So look forward to that. And we're just going to get right into this here. So Kashtira Fenrir here. I have the ulti up for some reason, but I think they're going to give Cash a little bit more here, and Fenrir is kind of one of those go-to cards where you're going to see it in cards that aren't Cash, because you can literally just toss 3 Fenrir in a deck, be like, cool, special summon, hey, can I add? Cool, and then, hey, this could either be a board breaker, or it's just, hey, it sits on field. When your my opponent activates a monster effect, I can just target a face-up card and mash it. And you can go have fun with that. And this card's always just going to be a board breaker. It is a power creeped Pinkertops. And even though Pink is better in certain situations, I'm not going to try to sell you a bridge. You're going to be running Fenrir 95% of the time, maybe even, probably even higher. But yeah, and this card also has an OTS ulti, and you guys are going to see a little bit of a recurring theme. I think Konami really wants to water down the value of OTS because they have been. And I actually have a video I'm going to be making on that really, really soon where people are probably going to call me a conspiracy theorist, which I guess it kind of is, but they really like going through OTS and reprinting it, and I'm like, huh, they're probably gonna reprint this, even though it has an ulti already. And that's really cheap, by the way, $26. The second thing I have is Hug in here. Now, I actually think most likely they're gonna give it to a Runick card, but I just have Huggin up here because I wanted to say that instead of making ultis of like, Black Witch and current cards, they could have made one of Huggin. Runick has stood this test of time of being a relevant deck. It's been relevant for a very long time, over a year. And the fact that they have not gotten anything in OTS or upgrades besides one super rare and a 22 that I just can't think of. I think it was Dispelling, but I could be incorrect. And I think Ulti Huggin, and I talked about this in my prediction list, Ulti Huggin would be awesome to have, but I think they're going to just give us Runick cards as course entry. I mean, it's a pretty big pool. I feel like some of those QCs would go pretty hard, especially for the extra deck. And I think Huggin would be one of those cards because they want to keep Runick as a strategy. And just Runick in general has been missing from a lot of these high rarity stuff, even though they haven't been getting hit. So Konami likes them in the game. They like having them. They've even released some more support cards, but they've never really gotten treated to high rarity outside of obviously its base set where it's gotten collector rares, from my knowledge, besides getting a QC as well as a secret in Dune. Grass looks greener here. They brought this card back. It is generic enough to be considered for Bonanza, and I think that they're like, hey, we just unbanned this card. Here you go, and maybe they'll put some more cards that never really got circulated that came off the ban list. And one of those I actually have very quickly is Title. Now, I actually am going to say all Dragon Rulers, but instead of opening up a ton of tabs, I'd like to actually save you guys time. The Dragon Rulers I've been coming off, and they're very iconic. Now that they're at 2, they're still not doing anything. but I told people, hey, they will be making these QC. There's no way they miss these if they want to milk QCs. And in the last video, I talked about limbs, and I said, hey, they're going to make the limbs QC to fill up some slots as well. And they ended up doing that for the tins. Because, and the worst part is the tins only had 50, I think, QCs. So putting up that 4 limbs, it helps them give, put some worse slots. And I think for Dragon Rulers, they're going to be doing that, but they're not going to be completely wasted. I think a lot of people would love having all QC Dragon Rulers. They would look very pretty. People would want play sets. It's a nostalgic card, and they're going to this nostalgic pool. And when they say nostalgic pool, I do really think they mean DM era. I usually think about that every time. It's like DM and like GX. Like sometimes they're cool with GX, sometimes they're really not. But I think Dragon Rulers is going to be one of those because, I mean, everyone knows what a Dragon Ruler is. So they're probably going to have those in there as well. We also have Thrust. I had this on my last video, and someone told me, hey, I think you might not. I'm not sure if you're going to be correct or not, but I think with the tins close, they're probably just going to put it in there, which I said it would be in the tins because there's nothing else they could reprint from Photon Hypernova. But I still think that they're going to put it as a QC most likely because it's generic, it matches talents, and those are reasons I used in that video as well. But it's also the fact that since they gave us another reprint, Konami with these generic cards, and you're going to see this a lot, like Aluber was also another one of these cards. Where, access code was another, where they reprint the card, but they don't really reprint it. And it's better I show you guys kind of with an example as access code, where we're going to ignore all the rarity collection here. The first time they reprinted it was in Etco, right? Which, these secrets, I'm actually curious on how much they are. Well, $7 going up to 10, huh? That's interesting. I actually still have my OG, so that's kind of cool to see. But we got the original print, a lot of money. They were like, you know what? The next reprint was one of these two. I feel like it was El Dorado. If I'm incorrect, guys, I'm incorrect. But this was like and it probably was El Dorado because this was 40, $50 for a gold rare. And it was pretty awful. And it was very hard to pull. They gave us an ugly version of it. We got a reprint, but we didn't really. And then we got our second reprint, technically, right? Which was as a secret rare in BLCR, right? And they pimped it out there as well with the QC, and they're like, hey, this is our second reprint, and reprints are supposed to make cards accessible, but guess what? It's still going to run you up a check. Now, we could check at the graph here, and we could see Rarity Collection released in the middle of May, and then you can see the drop, but these were like 40-somethings going down to 20 because access code kind of got pushed out a little bit of the game for a while. So this was its second reprint, yet still not really that accessible. And Thrust kind of follows that same path. Again, there were other cards that have done this. It's Konami's reprint policy. And I think until they finally make something very accessible, and then they even consider at that point when it's really accessible, like in a Rarity Collection, they then consider hitting it possibility. And again, I think Thrust is going to be there. Bystials. So I think these are 10 out of 10 picks. They're going to have a Bystial card in there. They've already reprinted Lubellion. What they're going to reprint afterwards is they might see this as staples and reprint the whole package. And I'm really, really hoping they do. I hope we get a QC Drewsworm. I hope we get a QC Saronir. And I hope we get a QC Baldur. Magna Hut. Now, they might not give all of us, hey, maybe if they give us Baldrake, I think a lot of people would really like that. Even maybe Dispatter, a card that should have been a Starlight in its own set instead of the very bad picks they've made Starlights in that set. I just disagree with them, but that's a different topic. Would be very, very excellent. I think a lot of players would love this. Again, they like making players have something called, that one of my subscribers actually called Diamond Hands. He was like, yeah, they love making those. So they see these all as staples. And I'm telling you this, QC Bystials will help sell a set. Just that alone, right? You don't even have to finish it. You put Drewsworm in there as a QC, set already goes up in value. Absolutely think these will be in there. Very quickly, I think they're just going to finish up the hand traps. Like, we got Ghost Girl, we got Reaper, and then we have Herald of the Orange Light. I think this card has been very iconic, and they do like making Edison cards, putting in Rarity Collection, and making them QCs like Nimble Hamster, Raikou, Charger the Light Brigade. Granted, you can kind of debate that those cards were for the new Light Swarm support, but let's be real. the current Light Storms would have not run Raikou in maybe a decade. I don't. It could have been I don't know. A decade's like half format, so maybe they ran a Raikou. But like, if we have to go a decade back to see if they ran one, kind of defeats the purpose. They reprinted it for Edison, and Herald of the Orange Light would not only be an Edison pick, but it would be a modern pick as well. It's a hand trap. It's just a 10 out of 10 pick here. I think this should have been Rarity 2. I think it should be Bonanza, absolutely. Absolutely. Also, while we're here, I actually think they might squeeze, and people have been, I'm not 100% confident in this, but they might give us all arts of these cards because they know they sell. And a lot of people feel really bad if they bought this because they're like, bro, they're not reprinting QC, but guess what, guys? It's a different artwork. It doesn't count. And that's kind of why with these like QC hand traps, I'm kind of like hesitant a little bit. Like with Ghost Bell, like Ash is like 150, right? If we get the other one, people are not going to prefer the OG. At least with Bell, like some others, I've seen 50-50s as well as they always hold some value. And QC Bells are as cheap as $20 now. So, like, you might lose $5, but it's also a QC Bell. It looks really nice. People might want to switch up. You won't lose that much, but I think they're going to maybe make all arts of these older Ghost Girls. It's a possibility that I can't tell you the percentage on, but it's not zero, and it's not extremely close to that. The Charmers, this would fill slots. People would love this, and the market knows that. The Charmers have been going down in value ever since. I mean, the fact that we have Darks at, 130 is kind of crazy. Just very, very low for these Charmers. Now, I will say, if the Charmers get dodged here, I would actually be very shocked. I actually will say I would put like an 80% chance they get reprinted. If they don't, it's good to grab them. I mean, like areas. Now, I will also say that, wow, they actually go up close to 600. Believe it or not, guys, I actually still have some Charmers. I still have my own Hida. I still have my area that I got back in when this set dropped. I actually had a lot of Hidas and a lot of Asas back in my day, and you know how and they've served me well. I flipped them a lot to a point where I've gotten them for free. Not with Dark. I got one Dark copy when they were really cheap, like 160, and I've just kept it ever since. But they've served me well. But the Charmer that I really want them to reprint is my boy Ian. I mean, look at this handsome man, my boy Ian. Oh yeah, bro looks like Elvis Presley over here. Then we're gonna get to the older cards here. Caius, I think, is a very good pick they're gonna make. They're gonna be like, hey, this card has been money every time we've printed it. Let's put it in. It's an Edison staple. It's kind of nostalgic, They are aware of the secondary market, and for some reason they keep giving out like turbo packs. So I feel like they're gonna reprint some of the stuff in said turbo packs. Trag is something that's kind of, I don't think it has much of a chance to get in, but it would unironically be one of the best because not only would a QC Tragodia look gorgeous, but this card actually is very hard to get for holoprints because all it has is the ulti and the Shonen Jump. Even all these years later, and Trag has been a card that's been in deck lists for years and years. Like, we low-key know, and it's better I actually show you guys here. We have a lot of commons. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think some of them probably aren't even showing up here. And definitely a card that is iconic enough. It is a Edison card, but at the same time, I feel like it would be, in a way, a bad pick because people would only need one copy. So all the supers and ultras would be bulk. Maybe people want normal secrets, but then there's the PCR and PURs are going to be bulk or bad pulls. I feel like Trag is a card I would love to see as a secret rare in Battles of Legend more. So, but I wanted to kind of include it here because there's a tiny possibility. I think also Chaos Sorcerer and Blackluster Soldier, which is cards I don't have here. Like Chaos Source would be good. Blackluster would be amazing. I think Blackluster, even though it plus it has a CR and they hate CRs, would be perfect as a QCR. I hope they don't milk out the Link more. That would just be so ugly. We have the OG Secret, we have a Pharaohs, we have a Ghost, we have an Ulti, we have reprints Saikus are like $1 or $2. I would personally fucking hate it. This guy would be kind of cool as one. I don't know why the collector is low on listings. Huh. By the way, in my last video has a fun little tidbit. I actually talked about the limbs. I was like really sure about that. And then the tins came out and they said they were gonna have quarter centuries, and I sat here and I was like, I wonder. But then I thought, oh, that's 4 slots. That is a lot, right? But I guess it's possible, right? Pack fill or whatever. And they just did it. They put it in the tins. It was kind of funny. Some people said I was people were saying on my market watching videos, oh, you know what, Saki, you were technically right. I guess. I mean, I would expect them to throw 50 QCs, one in every back from the tins back when I made this last video months ago. Dragoons here. Dragoons would be a fantastic pick, not only for hat format, but we have so much of the Mermail support that I'm kind of wondering if they're going to give us any more Mermail cards. But I feel like we got to get something, and I feel like Dragoons is just the pick for a QC. Bottomless. I would put a 95% on this one because we got in Rarity Collection 1, we got Compulsory Evacuation Device. In the tins, we got Torrential, right? If you guys don't know what the big three kind of is for traps, it was Bottomless, Compulse, Torrential. There was a time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where everybody just ran one of these cards. Like the Zexal era especially, if you really look at the, I don't know, 4 years, say that era lasted, give or take, you'd be hard-pressed to find a format that didn't have these cards. I mean, even when you look at, say, older stuff like Edison, of course you see Bottomless, and older sets you still see Compulse and stuff, like same with Torrential, right? Yes, but they were all at one for a very long time, and people just ran all of them, which I forgot if Torrential or Bottomless or Compulse are on the ban list. It'd be really funny if they still are, because I feel like they gotta be out by this point. Sky Strikers, the writing is on the wall for Sky Strikers. I'm not telling you that they're probably going to be in there. I'm telling you they are going to be in there. The fact they're giving a lot of love to Sky Strikers recently, especially with these QCs, it's a fan favorite deck. People are going to want to go ahead and grab these copies, or like grab these cards, right? And this is another thing I want to prove with the hand traps. We have an alt art rose and we have a starlight, right? Now, people can argue, oh, but these were the alt arts, so and they never had a QC ever, right? So, you know, it has Starlight. They're reprinting Starlights. Sure, that's true. But we've seen them bend the rules a little bit and then go further and further. For Sky Strikers, what I personally think they're going to make a QC is I think they're really going to aim towards giving us more of the fan service. Like, I really feel like maybe they'll give us the links, because they're also not putting every card as a QC that has a QC. They'll put it in there, so they might give us like plat stuff. It's just my personal opinion there. There's also a tiny chance how this would be awful, but Konami has done this like in our tins. Imagine if we get like QC or like cards are just QC only as tokens. It would be very cringe, but I'm not ruling Konami out. It would be an awful pick. Guiding Quem, this has a Starlight. They're going to give branded something. They like reprinting Starlights, unfortunately, so they're going to give a QC of that. Chaos Angel, I mean, the writing's on the wall kind of for this card. They're going to make it a QC eventually. It's like how I see the ban list. It's more like when, not if. And then we also have Dragon Maids. Now, this is a fan favorite deck that's using Dragon Link. They're getting more support soon. They're probably going to throw a bone to Dragon Maids possibly in that set. It's kind of weird because in Bonanza they're kind of aiming for, again, we don't know what nostalgia necessarily means, and Dragon Maids are the kind of card where you look at it and you're like, wow, this isn't something that would fit Rarity Collection. And people were talking to me about it, and I just feel like with the news upcoming and all this, the chance isn't zero, but I want to go over it just to include it, like, hey, this is a possibility. But I personally don't have much faith in Dragon Maids being there, but I'm not putting it at zero. That is something I definitely don't want to do. So with that being said, I want to know what you guys think of this video. What cards you think are going to be in Bonanza. Remember, if you guys appreciate these kinds of videos, make sure to smash that like button, because I love it when you guys hit that like button and just help me out in general. Same with being a YouTube channel member, helps me work on the channel more instead of my actual jobs, because YouTube sometimes takes a lot of time, and honestly, I love doing more YouTube. Like, I definitely at this point feel burnout sometimes, but then there's times where I'm like, man, I can't wait to upload a second video today. It's kind of wild to me. But it just, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, there's probably a lot of stuff I missed here, but I didn't want to make this like an hour and a half video. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.